Story 1. My wife and I occasionally sleep separately. Since we both struggle to sleep well, we sometimes choose to sleep in different rooms. This way, if one of us manages to fall asleep, we won't disturb the other who may be awake and doing laundry at 3 a.m. Story 2. My wife and I have an amazing marriage. I am a heavy snorer at times. We sleep together occasionally, and it is really fun. However, getting good sleep is one of the most important things for your health in life. Story 3. If you and your partner have different sleep patterns, consider sleeping separately. Sleep is vital. Story 4. Seeing my significant other's face next to me when I wake up, usually with a gentle pat from a cat 5 minutes before the alarm goes off, is one of my greatest joys. But whatever works best for them. If separate bedrooms are what they prefer, that is fine. Story 5. For the first decade of my relationship with my husband, I struggled to sleep at all. He snores, tosses around, takes all the blankets, and wraps himself in them. He also hits the snooze button multiple times before getting up. In contrast, I am a very light sleeper. Our sleep schedules do not align. I go to sleep relatively early and wake up naturally around 4 a.m. He goes to bed much later and sleeps in if he doesn't set an alarm. I was previously caught up in the idea that couples should sleep together out of love. For the past decade, we have had separate bedrooms, which has been a game changer. Now I get sleep. I'm not exhausted and angry when I wake up. It has been completely life-changing. I will never go back to sleeping with anyone but my cats. Story 6. I am single, so my opinion matters little, but I am not at my best when I don't get enough sleep. I believe a household would be much happier if I prioritized my sleep and that of my partner over tradition. The only downside I see is the need for a larger house to accommodate both of us. However, as someone who values personal space, I would appreciate the aspect of sleeping separately from my partner. Story 7. Hello. I wanted to provide more information regarding my situation. My boyfriend and I have very different schedules. I am 31 and he is 36. While this was not an issue when we first got together 5 years ago, it is starting to become a problem with our sleep patterns. I wake up early, and we have 2 dogs, having recently adopted a puppy. The lack of sleep is taking a serious toll on me since I now get up at 5 a.m. to manage morning routines with both dogs. I work Monday to Friday in an office job as a data analyst, while my boyfriend is a salesman at a furniture store, so his days off are during the week. I have no issue with him relaxing on the nights before his day off and drinking, but I ask him to please come to bed before 3 a.m. That way, if I wake up, I still get at least 2 hours of sleep. However, he often comes to bed at 3:30 or 4 a.m. and sometimes stays up until I leave for work. We have been arguing because I am woken up so close to my work time. I even considered just waking up and starting my day, but I feel exhausted by the time I get home. He thinks my waking up early is extremely petty. I am trying to think of ways we can both address this issue so that we can both get the much-needed sleep we require. Story 8. It's not a bad idea. Sleep is very important, and while you may be compatible as lovers and partners, you might not be as compatible as bed sharers. Story 9. My parents have separate bedrooms. My mom is always too warm. She sleeps with the window wide open and 2 fans running, even though we live in Scotland where it is rarely warm. Meanwhile, my dad seems to be cold-blooded, basically like a lizard. He wears jeans, a fleece over a polo shirt, a jacket over the fleece, and even a wool hat in the summer when it is 25 degrees Celsius. He used to endure their shared bedroom, bundled up in a thermal base layer, an electric blanket, a duvet, and 4 extra blankets just to survive my mom's Arctic sleeping conditions. But if he turned on the heating, my mother would have to use cold gel packs in her bed or she would repeatedly wake up sweating. Eventually, they realized that separate rooms were the only sensible choice. They still love each other, but they do not enjoy being uncomfortable every night. Story 10. I snore badly. My wife would start off nicely, giving me a gentle nudge and saying, "You're snoring. Roll onto your side." After so much of that and her sleep getting interrupted, she would eventually be yelling and punching me. We are much happier now that we sleep in separate beds. Story 11. Whatever works. We have a king and a queen that we put together, and we call it a megabed. Now we at least get to sleep in the same room. Best sleep ever. Story 12. My wife and I both snore. We sleep in separate rooms so that we can get some rest and avoid having to replace the windows that would otherwise rattle out of the frame. Story 13. Married for 24 years, we have been in a sleep divorce for at least 10. This arrangement works perfectly for us. We fall asleep next to each other, but eventually, I go into the guest room. I would keep my wife awake all night snoring, needing to use the bathroom, tossing and turning, and so on. This way, we both get the best night's sleep possible. Story 14. My husband snores loudly, and I have chronic insomnia. He is a night owl while I am a morning person. Without separate bedrooms, I would be a victim of sleep deprivation, or he would be facing serious consequences. Sleep deprivation is a form of torture and can severely impact your health and well-being. Anyone who believes that enduring this is a way to demonstrate love for their partner does not truly love them. Otherwise, they would never consider inflicting such suffering. Story 15. We shared a life together for 10 years. It was the best experience. He snored loudly and woke up at 2 a.m. for work. I enjoyed sleeping with the television on and with all our pets. Occasionally, I would sleep over and it felt like a special occasion. When he passed away a few years ago, I felt thankful that I was accustomed to sleeping alone, as the pain was already so heavy. We had a strong bond, and he was the love of my life for nearly 30 years. Our love and relationship remained unchanged. Story 16. Well, it just depends on the reason. If it's because workdays conflict with each other's sleep schedules, then that's fine. However, if you're like my parents and have slept apart for over 15 years simply because they can't stand each other, you probably shouldn't be in the relationship at all. Story 17. Whatever makes everyone happy. For me, I'm married to have someone to snuggle with. Separate bedrooms are not an option. We have been sleeping together for 31 years and hope to do so for several more decades. Story 18. I toss and turn a lot. We both like to sprawl and it works for us. Sometimes we sleep over and it's fun. But inevitably, one of us wakes up to head across the hall. Story 19. It can be the best solution for some people. Just don't let it affect your sex life. One of my mother's friends lives in a trailer in the desert with her husband. They are both quite small, around 5 feet 1 inch and 5 feet 5 inches. She sleeps at one end in what appears to be a scaled-up dollhouse bedroom. He sleeps at the other in what seems to be a small office space with a bed and some cowboy decor. They appear to be very happy. Story 20. If you do not have relationship intimacy in all aspects, sleeping in the same bed will not save you. Conversely, if you have that intimacy, sleeping separately will not jeopardize it. We slept separately for about 2 years because we had a baby who slept poorly and woke up very early. During that time, I felt extremely frustrated if anything disturbed my sleep. My husband stayed in one room and handled most of the nighttime awakenings while I got up with our son at 4:30 or whatever dreadful time he woke up. Our son is now 5 and sleeps very well, so we are back to sleeping together. However, our sex life was fine, actually incredible, during those years. We were simply doing what we needed to maximize everyone's sleep. Story 21. I snore loudly. She was miserable. Separate rooms are great, and now she isn't miserable and I don't feel bad. Story 22. I know couples, including my own marriage, who aren't even under the same roof much of the time but have stable, loving, happy relationships. There are also couples who seem joined at the hip yet are on the verge of breaking up every 6 months. Any arrangement that serves the people in the relationship is a sensible arrangement. Story 23. I often have a dry cough at midnight, and sometimes it lasts for a while. So, I started sleeping in another room on nights when I cough to avoid waking up my significant other. Story 24. My wife and I had separate bedrooms for a while. She worked the third shift and I worked the second shift. I was usually falling asleep when she was coming home, and I am a terribly light sleeper, so we slept separately on many work nights. When we had days off together, we would sleep in her room since she had the larger bed. It was certainly not the norm, but it worked for us. Story 25. I think it's a little weird, but we are all at least a little weird in our own ways. If that's how the couple works best, all the power to them. Story 26. I have been doing it for years and highly recommend it if you are opposite types of sleepers. No one is happy if they are tired all the time. Story 27. My parents have been doing this for as long as I can remember. Initially, they had separate beds because my dad sweats excessively, and my mom had enough of it. Additionally, my mom had significant back surgery and needed a specific type of mattress. When my sisters and I moved out, they transitioned to separate rooms. Interestingly, my mom's room is typical of a woman's, while my dad's resembles that of a teenager, complete with a large television. They have been married for over 40 years, so they must be doing something right. Story 28. As long as the other person is okay with it, I would honestly prefer it. I have to get up multiple times during my sleep to use the bathroom, which could wake them up. I also occasionally experience night terrors that induce panic attacks. Additionally, my third shift sleeping schedule and my ability to fall asleep with my head on the pillow and wake up laying horizontally on the bed make me feel like I would be a nuisance to sleep with. Story 29. We usually sleep in the same room, but our younger child climbs in around 3 a.m. It's hard to sleep because he kicks, tosses, and turns. If someone has a busy day the next day, that person will go to sleep in another bed. No complaints. We also have a king-size Tempur-Pedic mattress, so we can easily sleep next to each other without disturbing one another. Story 30. I have no opinion on what others are doing, but I wish I had the space for 2 separate bedrooms for us. Our sleep quality would improve significantly. He prefers to sleep in a very cold room with a fan blowing directly on him. Even when we compromise on the room temperature, we still feel uncomfortable. If we ever get a bigger place, we will definitely have separate rooms. Story 31. Those people probably don't care what you think, and the stigma is why this seems shocking, not the fact that people feel more at ease in their own space. Story 32. My fiancée and I currently have separate sleeping arrangements for a few reasons. She wakes up very early at 5 a.m., while I stay up late until midnight. Sharing a room disrupted both of our sleep patterns, as one of us would come to bed or wake up in the morning. Sleeping in different rooms eliminates this issue. Additionally, we recently purchased a Tempur-Pedic bed. Although it is the soft version, it felt quite firm during the break-in period, causing her discomfort. She now sleeps on the old bed, while I experience buyer's remorse over the most expensive bed I have ever purchased. Since I am outside the return period, I have already traded it for a softer version through Mattress Firm. Our relationship is the best we have experienced so far. We are both deeply in love and often sneak into each other's rooms for some cuddle time before we start or end the day. Story 33. Due to health issues, we both sleep better separately. This doesn't mean we never sleep together. But if either of us has trouble sleeping, it's nice to have an option. Many arguments are avoided by having individual bathrooms. Story 34. My husband and I were roommates at first. When we started dating, our rooms were too small for each other's belongings. Mine couldn't even fit a bed larger than a twin. Eventually, we moved into a new place, but that was after several years. Sleeping in different beds didn't really affect our day-to-day life. Story 35. The best sleeping arrangement I ever had was having a bedroom on either side of the same bathroom. She had a double bed and I had a single. Every night we would go to bed together, and she would usually fall asleep first. If I couldn't sleep, which happened often, I would go to my room to watch movies or read without disturbing her and often ended up falling asleep there. Sometimes, I would return to her bed, and if I woke up feeling cold, I would cuddle up with her to get back to sleep. I think separate rooms can be wonderful for sleep quality, especially when one partner needs much less sleep than the other. Story 36. I can see it for my wife and me, though we don't know. I am usually up for hours before she is. We both snore heavily, but mine is helped by using a continuous positive airway pressure machine. It is challenging when I am lying in bed at 8 p.m. trying to get to sleep, and she comes in to lie down and watches videos for hours. Story 37. Everyone's situation is different. Whatever works for them. My girlfriend and I sleep in separate bedrooms for a few reasons. We lived together for about 3 years before we started dating, so we had our own rooms. We are both very introverted, so we feel more comfortable having our own space when we need a break to recharge. I have to wake up at 3:30 a.m. from Friday to Tuesday for work, while she has a regular Monday to Friday schedule. Story 38. I am a freelance court reporter, and my schedule is very fluid. Some days I need to wake up at 5 a.m., while other days I can sleep in. My husband snores a lot, and I was never well rested when I slept beside him. About 10 years ago, I started sleeping in a spare bedroom on nights when I had to wake up early. Now I always sleep by myself. This arrangement works best for both of us and is not a reflection of our relationship or love. Story 39. I think it is smart and what I would do if I ever lived with a partner and could afford it. It is important to have your own spaces, not just being in separate rooms like one in the living room and one in the bedroom. You can still spend time together and have sleepovers, but having a place to go to be by yourself or relax is always beneficial. You each have your own space for your belongings, where you can keep them as you like and in a way that makes you feel comfortable, providing somewhere to unwind or relax alone when needed. Story 40. It's the only way. We cannot sleep in the same room. We do not go to bed at the same time. He snores and I toss and turn all night. Story 41. I approve. We do it. I like having my own room and so does she. If we want to be intimate in a bedroom, we have a choice of two. Story 42. I slept on the couch while my wife was recovering from a bad cold. It was the best sleep of my life. Now I understand, and someday you will too. Story 43. The logical side of me says that sleep is important, and well-rested people tend to build better relationships than those who are tired and exhausted. However, the emotional part of me feels that there would be a disconnect, lacking a sense of emotional safety, security, intimacy, and closeness. Story 44. My parents use it because they both snore loudly, and it works for them. My husband has been sleeping in our guest room because our current mattress hurts his back. It has been the best sleep I've had in years. Story 45. Who cares? Some people snore loudly. Some have to get up frequently to use the restroom. Some use a loud breathing machine. Some toss and turn throughout the night. The list goes on. Story 46. I have done it, and it actually works quite well. I need to watch television to fall asleep, and that was a problem for her. Story 47. I prefer to sleep in a cool environment and on a plush bed, such as a soft spring mattress and 2 6-inch memory foam pads. My partner is comfortable sleeping on a piece of plywood in warm temperatures. Having separate bedrooms allows both of us to sleep comfortably. Story 48. I offer this in my relationships because I have Tourette syndrome. If I do not fall into a deep sleep, I can experience tics in my sleep, and my tics can be wild. I flail my arms and kick my legs. Besides Tourette syndrome, I also snore very loudly. Story 49. It can work well if you prefer to spread out or snore for any reason. I prefer to be in the same place, but there is no judgment. Story 50. I work in people's homes, and it is quite common for them to have enough bedrooms to accommodate this. There are many reasons why sleeping in separate rooms can be the best choice for some couples, and as long as they are happy with the arrangement, that is great for them. Story 51. If you're able to do it, I would. It's nice to have the option to sleep together or not. Just because you have separate bedrooms doesn't mean you can't sleep together. It just means you have the option, which is nice. Story 52. I take a long time to fall asleep, while my significant other falls asleep as soon as their head hits the pillow and snores loudly. They are a morning person and I am not. They can wake up with one alarm, but I need several. Before we realized that other people's norms and expectations of a relationship did not apply to us, we had many grumpy mornings and unproductive workdays, which led to frustrations with each other. We communicated and discovered that we enjoy our awake time and intimacy much more after having a good night's rest. Our lack of sleep was affecting our daily lives and relationship more than anything else. We still cuddle and talk until we drift off but feel no guilt about moving to another room for our own comfort when needed. I think the "when we need to" aspect is important because it does not happen all the time. Sometimes we fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up together. Other times, we are simply on different schedules, and that is okay. Story 53. My spouse and the dog snore loudly in bed, and nothing makes a person crabbier than lack of sleep. Therefore, better sleep and mood make me happier, and we have a little reunion party every morning. That's just the way it is. Story 54. I sleep in a different bedroom 5 to 6 days a week. I wake up at 2 a.m., and she wakes up at 7 a.m. She is a light sleeper, so anything that disturbs her sleep keeps her awake for the day. Out of respect for her rest, I try not to wake her up. It is impossible to do if I'm in the same bed as her. Story 55. Function over form sometimes, especially if one partner snores or if they have different sleep and wake schedules. Story 56. My mom has sleep apnea, and my dad is a very light sleeper. Both are in their 60s and have spent the past few years sleeping in separate rooms. This arrangement has helped them sleep better. Story 57. I am a heavy sleeper and I move a lot. My significant other wakes up at the slightest sound or movement. For both our sanity, sleep, and love, we have separate bedrooms at each end of the house. It has worked well for the past 3 years. Everyone has their own way of living together. As long as it is communicated and consensual on both sides, there is no problem. Story 58. Not for me, but I don't care what others do. Some friends of mine sleep in separate rooms because he snores loudly. Story 59. My husband and I have been together for 3 years. There are times when I wish we could sleep together, and we've discussed doing so a few nights a week. However, he has many sleep issues, and right now I'm very pregnant, making sleep challenging for me as well. So, I'm open to whatever works. Story 60. My fiancé and I have been together for the last year, and our relationship has improved. I am a light sleeper, and he snores loudly. I would often become irritable towards him, even though it isn't his fault. He also wakes up earlier than I do for work, which wakes me up. He prefers to sleep with the TV on, while I enjoy soft music or an audiobook. We still cuddle before bed and are intimate at other times. If anything, our intimacy feels more intentional now. It's not just a routine to check off at bedtime. Vacations feel extra special, and we make an effort to show love throughout the day. Now that we have a baby, I would like to share a bed again. He is consulting a doctor about what may be causing his snoring. For now, this has been an improvement in our relationship. You cannot be good to each other if you are not sleeping well. Story 61. Personally, I probably would not do this. However, every couple is different and has their own preferences, so if they want to, they should go for it. Story 62. Every couple can do what they feel is best for themselves. Personally, I dislike the idea. I genuinely enjoy going to sleep and waking up beside my wife. The cuddles in the morning before the kids wake up and the chance to talk for a few minutes before our days begin are some of the only moments we have together on many busy days. Sometimes, when one of us is unwell or has to wake up very early for something, we may sleep apart for the night, but that is typically the exception, and I hope it lasts forever. Story 63. When I'm in a training cycle and waking up at 4 a.m. to go for a run or lift weights, I sleep in another room to avoid waking my wife and toddler, who sleeps in his own bed in our master bedroom. I have to admit I get some of my best sleep during these times. Plus, it's fun to sneak into each other's room to fool around after 20 years of marriage. Story 64. They go to bed intending to fall asleep immediately, with white noise playing all night. I go to bed to read for an hour or two and listen to music for a short while. We don't have to worry about sharing blankets or rolling over onto each other's blankets. I decorate my room as I like, and so do they. I know I snore, and so do they. It is easier to keep clothes separate. Their job starts at 7 in the morning, while mine starts at 9. They don't experience cold feet or cold hands unexpectedly while asleep. This is what works best for us. Story 65. My wife and I do this too. I miss waking up next to her beautiful face. I do not miss being bumped or kicked when I wake her up snoring. I also do not miss having a countdown timer until she is asleep so I can go to bed. We still love each other and sleep in the same bed on vacations. Story 66. I support it if that's their decision. My parents slept in their own room for years, and they're still together with no issues. Story 67. I'm seriously considering my next move. Sleep is important, and being such a light sleeper, sleeping with my girlfriend has affected my sleep quality. Story 68. For as long as I can remember, my parents slept not only in separate bedrooms but also on separate floors of the house. They stayed married until they both died in 1996, so it seemed to work for them. Story 69. If I had my way, we would be on separate continents. Her snoring has become so bad of late. Every night for the past few months, she falls asleep on her back and snores like a loud motorcycle. Story 70. I stopped sleeping with my wife when I discovered that before we married. She had been unfaithful and lied about it. I have been in another bedroom ever since. Story 71, 100% for it. The notion of having to sleep in the same bed is outdated and unnecessary. Some people have nights when they can't sleep, experience different body temperatures, or may have eaten something that causes their stomachs to feel queasy. I'm not sure why people insist on sleeping in the same bed. It seems impractical. Story 72. My husband and I do this, and it's really awesome. Everyone gets a decent amount of uninterrupted sleep, and if we want, we can still sleep in the same room. Story 73. For the past 13 years of our 21-year marriage, my wife and I have slept in separate bedrooms. It is amazing and works perfectly for us. A combination of having a child in bed frequently, mutual snoring, different work schedules, and my post-traumatic stress disorder and inability to sleep led us to this decision. Story 74. It's a bit unusual, but they likely have a reason for it. I wouldn't judge them. It's simply unexpected. Story 75. It's honestly pretty normal. People have different sleep habits, so if theirs don't align, sleeping together every night can be annoying, stressful, and exhausting. Story 76. I see no problem with it. There are many good reasons for this situation to occur. Someone might snore or move around a lot, or their sleep schedules may be different. Perhaps one bed isn't large enough. One person might prefer sleeping with a dog or cat on the bed while the other does not. When both individuals are asleep, what difference does it make if they are separated by 1 foot or 30? Story 77. My wife and I have been sleeping in separate bedrooms for years, and it's amazing. We sleep so much better. Yes, we still have a fulfilling, intimate life. People often assume otherwise. Story 78. My wife and I sleep separately. I am prone to violent night terrors. My brain thinks I am actually under attack, so it lets me fight back. I have punched lamps, walls, and nightstands. I have pummeled pillows and kicked a television. It is just safer for her. Story 79. With one partner, they would go to their own room when I fell asleep because I snore. When I woke up before them, I would crawl in, and we would snooze the last hour together. It worked great. Story 80. I would prefer it, but my previous partners wanted to share a bedroom and we had limited space. I am disabled due to chronic illnesses, which unfortunately means I have a complicated sleep schedule. It is often hard for me to sleep peacefully because of the pain. I wake up frequently, and when sleeping next to someone, it can be really stressful because I worry about waking them up. Even if they say it is okay, I understand how tiring it is to go to work when not well rested. I am currently single by choice because I do not want to deal with the unnecessary stress and anxiety of being constantly on edge due to someone else's schedule. I miss the intimacy and love of sharing daily life with a romantic partner, but not enough that it is a priority. Story 81. For me, it's a no-go. Unless she develops a sudden case of sleepwalking, and even then, it would be a temporary solution. I need to feel my wife's soft, warm presence every night. Story 82. Why would I care? I make it a point not to have an opinion on matters like that. That path leads to busybodies, bigots, racists, and zealots. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.